Welcome back everyone to another Company of Heroes 2 replay cast, and this time we have a freebie. It is a, as you can see, clan in-house, the CB clan, Cold Beer Drinkers. Shout out to my good friend Jimmy in the CB clan. And yeah, ally side OP. Yeah, anyway, it is, as you can see, the lovely Across the Rhine. I mean, I've never noticed, but this map actually kind of looks nice. It kind of looks like a place where it would be fun to live. Get wrecked, Gaon. I'm guessing they mean carry on. Anyway, the players are going to be Lanver as the Wehrmacht, Miho Nishizumi playing as the OKW. Of course, Japanese people would play as OKW. Carrion as the OKW as well. All pretty good players. I mean, I've never seen Miho Nishizumi, but I'm sure he's pretty good. Puska as the Americans. This is, of course, the other team. Rayon as the Brits, and LL Nyang as the Soviets. LL Nyang already going for the glorious Penals. First engagement going to be happening between some infantry sections and the Storm Pioneers huddling up in the never to go in their house. At least I'm going to call it that, because I mean, this one has one window on every side, as you can see. One window up, one window east, one window west, etc. So of course at one point they just decide to get out because they're kind of tired of getting popped at by Liam Fields. They managed to get some damage off on the combat engineers, but of course no problem for Lel Nyang is going to be capturing the fuel point on his side. Of course this is across the Rhine, so the two fuels are very much close to one base or another, across open fields with minimal heavy cover. And it's probably going to be the subject of some pretty heavy battles, at least for the VPs and the fuels in the early game. So as you can see, massive infantry from Puska is going to be doing okay against the OKW troops, but Carrion seems to have a much better position set up. Of course, he's got heavy cover on all his troops. He's managing to focus fire on one rifleman at a time. That's just kind of forcing them back bit by bit, and as you can see, this is going to allow him to capture the fuel point. However, there is a mortar coming through for Puska, so Puska might be able to turn this around with some good, well-placed mortar shots, if he can get that, of course. Actually, medical supplies being dropped by the Storm Pioneers, so this is okay. Okay, so we have that. I'm actually not sure if this is balance patch or not. I just kind of downloaded it because it looked like a good replay. Well, I don't see any balance patch stuff yet. Anyway, yeah, north side, interesting choice from Lanver. A very aggressive bunker. I feel like that's a bad idea, but it's just so weird that it might just work. I mean, he's gonna come through, harass with the Pioneers, sees the Penals, gets out, but this might be luring the Penals into thinking that this area is devoid of troops. I don't know. I mean, he sees the machine gun, definitely. So why would he come in and try to deal with the bunker if he sees the machine gun behind it? I don't know. I feel like this is kind of a weird choice. He's trying to prevent the enemy from advancing, but the enemy is already in the position where they want to be. So I don't know. This is kind of weird. Anyway, he's kind of fixing them into place, however, and the mortar is going to be doing the rest, hopefully, doing some damage to Strafniki. In the south, the Germans are also doing quite well. They're able to push in, capture the mid, capture the south, and it looks like Lanver says he has lag, but that's not gonna be preventing him from capturing the field point. He's doing quite well for himself, and these Penals are being very defensive. That's because they're waiting for the scout car and a nice flank from the other Penal squad. Gonna be getting behind the machine gun. Sorry. And also with the flamethrower, now they're going to be able to push away that machine gun. Very nicely done by LL Nyang, springing the trap and making sure that he's able to essentially get all his pieces into play at exactly the same time. He did not want to be pushing in one side of his attack before the other one, lest they be destroyed. And so right now, unfortunately, he's not able to push through with the scout car and, of course, the flamer. So he's not really able to finish off the machine gun. That is because of the presence of that, of course, Grenadier squad that was, you know, Panzerfausting that guy. So poor Skakar getting destroyed in that engagement. But still, it was pretty successful for El Nyang. He's going to be able to destroy the machine gun now, most likely, with the flamer. I mean, he's still taking quite a bit of damage from the machine gun. The MG42 in the rear is going to be quite a pain to deal with, but hey, he's definitely in a better position that he was just a slight, couple of minutes ago. And right now, it seems like the Allies in the center are trying to make a bit of a counter-strike happen. They're coming through. They managed to recover their mortar that they had lost, but yeah, it's not going to be enough. I mean, right now, it looks like the captain is going to be trying to do something about these Volksgrenadiers, but they're just flooding for the south, and the only thing that's going to stop them is this Vickers machine gun. However, if the Vickers faces one way, then the Germans can attack in another way, and so, of course, the center is going to be staying in German hands, at least in the foreseeable future. The south might get decapped a little bit by the captain, but seems like the Germans still have the advantage, especially because they have a retreat point already set up in a very aggressive position for Carrion. So he's going to also get the medics. Overall, it seems like his, his early game advantage is going to be cemented by this because he just got a very, very close retreat point, so he can come in with some fresh squads much faster than the enemy can. And of course, at close range, the captain is going to murder all those Volksgrenadiers, but it's not going to be enough because for every Volksgrenadier he murders, another one is going to come out of the battle headquarters that's very close. And actually, we have a massive fortification coming through from the Axis. So we'll get back to that later. Another nice flank from the Penals. They're going to be able to get the Grenadiers this time in the flank. Looks like the bunker was destroyed earlier. So the triple Penal is doing quite fine. The flamethrower engineers are all still alive, and we have, of course, the medics being upgraded by Elanyang. That's because his units are right now in a not the best position when it comes to HP, but he's able to regain his fuel point. And unfortunately for him, this machine gun is still kind of taking some pot shots at him. However, he's getting these Penals in a very nice flanking position, so he's going to be able to at least force the machine gun to reposition, as it does. In the center, we have a nice American-British push, so the Western Allies are definitely coming through on this side with their early game, early game infantry. They're doing quite well against the Volksgrenadiers that are now quite alone for Carrion. For some reason, we have Miho Nishizumi definitely hanging back here. Not sure for what reason. He's got his units in a very defensive position, and it's allowing this mortar to do quite the number on him. This kind of allowing Carrion to try to carry him, but it's not working out as well as it could be. As you can see, the early game advantage of the riflemen is really coming through for the Allies, as well as nice usage of the infantry sections. Right now, the infantry sections have been upgraded, so it looks like Rayon is definitely focusing on that early game play. He does have, of course, the veterancy 1 for one of the infantry sections. Actually, no, for both of the infantry sections, and then he has upgraded 2 of them with the medics, and then one other one with the... No, that's not English. Another one he's upgraded with the pyrotechnics. Although, I mean, he's only got 1 tier, so the pyrotechnics aren't going to be all that useful right now. It seems like overall, the Allies are in a better position than they were just a few minutes ago, but they're still having some problems. Looks like the 222 for Landwehr is going to be just kind of harassing away at the Allied infantry in the north. This 222 should provide Landwehr with the advantage that he needs to at least push back Elanyang a little bit, but with, of course, PTRS is coming through, the 222 is going to have to be very careful about the Allied infantry. Although this is going to provide a little bit of an extra advantage, at least in the meantime. However, there's a big reaction coming through from both the Americans and the Brits. They're going to come in with a 6-pounder and a Stuart to try to deal with this scout car. The scout car is going to be basically speeding out of there as quickly as it can. Interesting choice from the Allies coming back into the north. Probably a good one, though, by stacking more than 1 player on the north at this point. They're kind of mitigating the fact that they're losing in other areas because, I mean, at this point, they absolutely need to not lose their their fuel point, because if they do that, then they're going to be falling behind in tech to the Germans quite heavily. So by stacking more players onto the fuel point, they're basically securing their income a little bit more than they normally would be. And then they're kind of providing themselves with a secure area of map control from where they can attack into the center. And right now, the American infantry that is now rebuilt is trying to come for the south. Not the worst option, but not the best option as well. Miho is going for a very aggressive Schwerpanzer quarters in the south. If that gets discovered, then that's not going to be good for him, but it's not going to get discovered. However, it's still a very, very aggressive Schwerpanzer quarters. If later the Allies decide to really come out in force and try to destroy it, they can just kind of do it with a couple of AT guns, because it's basically out in the open. So, interesting choice for the Germans. And right now we have in the north a little bit of a push from El Nyang trying to use his T-70, but that's not going to be all that effective because of all too much Axis infantry in the area. So the light vehicle advantage is in the favor of the Allies, but the Germans are really defending themselves quite well. They've got the map control. Most likely they're going to be going for some medium vehicles at this point. I mean, considering that Carrion and Miho have gone for tier 4s. Landwehr might be the one to try to get some more early to mid-game vehicles. Maybe get some packs at this point. Yeah, he does have a pack, which is going to be very useful against the T-70. It's also going to be very useful against the Stuart, of course. So overall, things are going still quite well for the Germans, despite the early to mid-game advantage that the Allied light vehicles should provide them. However, I mean, at this point, considering what was happening 2 minutes ago with the Allies being pushed out of their fuel point, this is definitely quite good for them. There goes the T-70. And a nice flank from Carrion is going to be forcing these support weapons to reposition for the Brits. One problem for the Germans right now, or sorry, for the Allies right now, is that they're not really harassing the south. Finally, they're sending some units down there, but they're basically allowing the Germans to get a massive advantage when it comes to... Ooh. I'm not sure what RNG he's talking about, but they're allowing the Germans to get a massive advantage in terms of resource income, just for free. So that's not very good for them. And as you can see, also, this is not just providing the Germans with a resource advantage, but also with more secure territory that they can use to kind of come through and flank the enemy. Because, of course, if you have control over these points, then you have a little bit of an extra line of sight over there. Overall, it's just areas that you're more going to be aware of things that are happening there. Damn. Interesting rifle grenade. And there we go. So, that was very, very interesting to see if that guy was going to be wiped out, but he did not. Actually, nice usage of salvage. That's the Stuart strike. So I wonder what happened to it. Well, I mean, I know what happened to it, but I wonder how. Looks like the pack, yeah, the Rekenver for 43 might have had a, hand in that, but who knows? Probably some Panzer Faust coming through. That would have been, the primary culprit. Right now, it seems like the Germans are in an okay spot. I mean, they could be doing worse. They've still got the advantage pretty much when it comes to everything except those light vehicles. But the light vehicles, actually, no. The Allies have lost the light vehicles. So, actually, the Germans are basically ahead in every kind of category. We'll see how the Allies can deal with this. I mean, we have a nice Vickers. It's going to be very useful against the Volksgrenadiers. But Rayon seems to be the only Allied players that kind of holding his own against his numbers. I mean... it's not really looking all that good for the Allies, and El Nyang is having a lot of trouble even recapturing his, close proximity to it. Well, the close proximity to his base, and his allies are not even accomplishing that. I mean, Rayon is getting some good successes against the Volksgrenadiers, but he's still being completely demolished by support guns, it seems. I mean, the support guns are going to be providing quite a good bit of fire superiority against all this kind of support weapons play from the Allies. And right now, yeah, they just don't seem like they're going for any high-tech units as well. I mean, El Nyang does have, guard mortar coordination tactics, so he might be going for T-34-85s, but he does not have mechanized armor Campania, despite the fact that he has enough resources to purchase that building. Puska does not have the major and does not have the resources to purchase a major, so he's in a worse position because he's gone for both captain and lieutenant. He's back-tech to the lieutenant, which definitely slowing him down quite a bit. And Rayon also has enough resources to go for the tier 4, but he's not going for the tier 4. So this is kind of an interesting little position for the allies. They're not going for their, you know, late game, despite the fact that they have enough resources to get to the late tiers. I'm not sure what they're waiting for at this point completely, because it's clear that the Axis are not going for any kind of heavy light vehicle strategy. So because of that, I mean, the Axis really clearly is not going for the ultimate game. They're going for the late game. And if they're going to let the Axis get to the late game unmolested, I mean, well, the Axis are just going to win, especially in a 3v3 on across the Rhine. I mean, this map isn't really the best for flanking, so the allies are really going to have their options very, very limited when it comes to dealing with the big cats. But oh well, enough rambling about the future. Let's kind of concentrate about now. And now it seems like the riflemen are trying to push through the center, but however, this is not a fight that they can win because of this Panzer IV. Finally, the 6-pounder comes in and gets some pot shots on the Panzer IV. Thankfully for the allies, there's no Stuka on the field, but I mean, these support guns are still going to be able to punish this kind of rifle blobbing, hopefully. Although the Stukas seem to be, or not the Stukas, the support guns seem to be focused on the support weapons, which is going to allow the allied blob to kind of come up and, you know, mop the floor with the German infantry because of just sheer numbers. An Ostwind is in the north for Landwehr. That's an okay choice considering his opponent. Yeah, he's going for a lot of infantry. And LL Myang actually goes for a Su-76. That's an interesting idea. I'm not sure that that's a good idea per se, though. I mean, yeah, sure, the Su-76 is okay against enemy vehicles. It's going to be able to deal with the Ostwind. It's going to deal with the Panzer IV as well. But what if, you know, what if the Axis go for the bigger units later on? The Su-76 is not going to be able to stop those. And while it is, of course, a stopgap measure for the now, I mean, he's guard motor coordination tactics. He's got T-3485s. If he wants sort of medium AT, he can go with a mobile version of it with the T-3485 and also have a vehicle that can deal with enemy infantry very, very well and flank. I don't know. I feel like the T-3485s will be more versatile just in the long term. I don't know. Yeah, it seems like anti-tank gun is dealing with the Panzer IV just fine, but in the north, of course, the Ostwind is still being pesky. And in that, definitely the Su-76 is going to help. So it's an okay choice. Still feel like going for the Tier 4 and the T-3485s might be better. Also because having the Tier 4 would be just very, very useful overall. Not just because of the T-3485s, also because of the Katyusha and the Su-85, of course. Those would all be very, very useful units to have right about now, or at least to have the ability to purchase. And yeah, this is very dangerous. If the Axis kind of notice this, with some artillery, they can rain down and deal quite a lot of damage. So this would be wise for the Allies to prevent. I mean, this retreat point for Rayon is very dangerous. And here comes a nice strafing run by Landwehr. It's kind of providing a lot of support. Let's see about the doctrines. Of course, this is assault support with the Opel Blitzes and the strafing support on the Tiger. No Opel Blitzes yet because he has been focused on building fuel caches for his allies. Carrion hasn't picked a doctrine yet, but he does have fortifications, breakthrough, and special operations. Special operations being, of course, the most common of these, but all of them being quite, well, I mean, breakthrough is also, I would say, on par, but all of them being quite capable. And Miho Nishizumi has gone for Luftwaffe ground forces. He's been spawning around some Fallschirmjägers, but he has not really used them to good effect right now. So he needs to be finding his element with this doctrine. I mean, this doctrine is a doctrine that is kind of hit or miss. It can work out really well for you, or it can just really be completely worthless. It all depends on how you micro your Fallschirmjägers, and we'll see whether or not in the late game Miho can use those Fallschirmjägers to good effect. As for teching, Miho is clearly going for the KT because he's the one that does not have any, you know, heavy vehicles from his doctrine. So he's obviously a pretty good candidate for going for the KT. Landwehr could be going for the Tiger. Let's see. Of course, I always hate this. He does have battle phase 3 though. And here comes the Königstiger, of course, from Miho. Carrion, he's going for the medium vehicles. He's got a Jagdpanzer on the field.
and of course the Panzer IV, but I'm not sure that that's a good idea. I mean, the Jagdpanzer is going to be a good utility anti-vehicle unit, but I mean, what is it going to do right now? Shoot at Su-76s? Ugh, I'm not sure about that. I feel like conserving the fuel for maybe later a Jagdtiger, or maybe later a Command Panther, or maybe even now a Command Panther might have been a better option for Carrion. Especially considering the Command Panther would be able to buff up the KT and the Tiger. So both, you know, the big Tigers gotta get buffed by that Command Panther. So it would be very, very effective. Whereas on the Allied side, of course, we have guard motor coordination for El Nyang. Very versatile, very awesome. He's already got a couple of 120mm that are doing some damage. Of course, the Pack Howitzer is also doing damage for his allies. So overall, it seems like the light artillery is doing quite well for the allies. Right now, the KT is pushing in the center. Oh no, this could be a very, very big mistake. I mean, he's coming in with the Volksgrenadiers to support, but Volksgrenadiers are coming in as a blob, so this could be very bad. Here comes a marked vehicle from guard motor coordination, and quite a bit of damage is being dealt to that Königstiger. Of course, thanks to the 6-pounders in the rear, and not much else. Because of the lack of medium armor, right now the Allies can't really follow up on this success and try to destroy the KT. They're going to be left with, I guess, pushing up with infantry, although this is a bad idea because it's going to expose the infantry to the 88mm gun of the King Tiger, exposing them to quite a lot of damage in return. Here comes a flak half-track from Puska, which is going to be a nice mobile suppression platform. However, it's going to be very vulnerable to basically anything that can happen to it. I mean, a sneeze is going to kill it at this point in the game. Right now, the Su-76 in the north is, I mean, it's doing fine. But overall, I just don't see how the Allies are going to deal with the KT once the KT gets its act together and does not rush ahead of its infantry support, as it did just now. Nice flank from the Panzer IV, however, deals a little bit of damage to the Royal Engineers. Right now, the two anti-tank guns are pushing up to deal with the Panzer IV, which is going to force that push away. The German infantry is doing quite okay, but, I mean, they're eventually going to get forced away. It's just way too close to the Allied base. Yeah, here comes the anti-air. However, this is opening up the flank for the Soviets. So the Soviets right now are very much prone to a flank from these German forces. However, the Volksgrenadiers retreat. The Jagdpanzer is also forced to retreat by, looks like, the anti-tank guns, and overall, it seems like the mid part of the map is going to be staying neutral / in the hands of the Germans. The KT has been repaired very quickly and now is going to be coming back on the field. So the Axis, I would say, winning this engagement, not really decisively, but still coming out on top. And right now, it seems like El Nyang has finally gone for the mechanized armor company. He's got a marked vehicle going on the KT, and of course his Su-76 is in the area, but there's not really much that can follow up on this. Of course, there goes something. There was a 120mm mortar, I think that was. And right now, it seems like the Ostwind is taking a lot of that fire, taking the brunt of the damage from the anti-tank guns. There goes the Ostwind, actually. Very well played by those 6-pounders, realizing that they could be, instead of shooting at the AT perhaps futilely, they could try to get a nice result and destroy the Ostwind. Remember, when you can destroy a unit, it's always pretty good to do so, and ignoring other targets. And actually, Rayon, with special weapons, has gone for the Crocodile. He has kept the special weapons basically hidden from his enemies throughout all this time, and so now he's able to bring in the surprise Crocodile, destroying one of those infantry squads, and duking it out with the Panzer IV. Of course, the Crocodile isn't really going to be able to duke it out with the Panzer IV anyway, but as an anti-infantry unit, this will be very, very useful. Right now, the Allies are starting to come back when it comes to map control and infantry superiority. So having the extra anti-infantry from the Croc is going to be extremely, extremely helpful for them, because it's going to be putting up a lot more pressure on the German troops than normally would be happening. Because of this, Crocodile Carrion might want to go with Breakthrough Doctrine to get the, of course, Jagdtiger, which is going to be a very nice counter to the Churchill Crocodile. However, you never really know. Carrion so far has been playing very well with the flanking maneuvers and also holding the center. Right now, he's really able to draw in at least 2 players from the Allied side. However, his Panzer IV takes a nasty hit and is in dire straits. The KT is also not in the best possible position. It was focusing on the Crocodile a little bit too heavily, and of course, preventing, a flanking maneuver is gonna take escaping away from the battlefield because it was way too far up without that much infantry support. The Volksgrenadiers were forced to retreat. Speaking of infantry support lacking, it is in the south that this Panzer IV is really feeling that. However, the bazookas are forced away by the main gun. So, very lucky for that Panzer IV that the Allies were not able to follow up on that push a little bit earlier. Right now, it seems like the Königstiger is going to be pushed away in the center once again. Constant marked vehicles are going down in that. This is not going to be sustainable for long, however. Liang is out of munitions. So while this is a pretty good way to at least keep the KT apprehensive about itself and forcing it, to be careful and back away every once in a while, especially considering that every time the Allies get a pot shot, it's going to do double damage, so it's going to be even more time for this KT to be repaired, even more downtime. Despite all those factors, I mean, at this point, the Allies are out of munitions. At least Liang is out of munitions, so he's not going to be able to really reload that marked vehicle for another time, at least for a while. So this is not that good for him. Although he's gone for an SU-85, which is, in my opinion, a better choice considering the situation than a T-34-85 or a Katyusha. But you should really keep in mind that those units are available for him, because the Katyusha right now will be very, very effective at dealing with these support weapons, especially the Raketenwerfers that are really preventing the Allies from following up on some of these good plays that they're getting on the KT, from some of these nice sort of bursts of damage that they're getting. So, ooh, here comes a nasty barrage. But still, it would be very nice for the Allies to follow up on those, maybe using the Crocodile as a meat shield, and then using the anti-tank destroyers to try to finish off the KT. But it's just not applicable with these Raketenwerfers being hidden in stealth. I'm not sure if the Allies even know about these things being around. Still, a Katyusha would be useful against that, and T-34s would be useful in a flanking role, of course. Not as easy to flank on this map as in some others, but still not a bad idea to at least try. North gonna be looks like recaptured by the Germans. Nice Panzerfaust comes through on the Su-85. The Su-85 is in trouble, and looks like the Stug is gonna be trying to finish it off. The support of the Su-76 is not gonna be enough because the Su-76 is in no position. However, the Su-85 gets a very nice shot, disabling the main gun of the Stug. The answer, however, is devastating from the Stuka, managing to destroy that vehicle from afar. In the center, we have a massive push from the OKW. They're going to be able to come through with their vehicles. They could try to use right now a Fallschirmjäger assault onto this point, which would definitely put a lot of pressure into the Allied rear lines. But the Axis infantry is forced away by, looks like, just regular old Allied riflemen, which leaves the KT without support. The KT without support is easy pickings for the 6-pounder anti-tank guns, and so that's not very good. Oh, actually, right. The Crocodile forced the Volksgrenadiers to retreat. And right now, it seems like a Jackson from Puska is doing quite well. Finally, some harassment coming through on the south from Puska. The Panzer IV, however, that's now Vet 4, is able to deal with that quite easily. A massive push in the north for Landwehr is going to be repulsed by the Crocodile, but the Crocodile itself is going to be forced away by the Tiger, the regular one. Tiger also destroys the Su-76, so very well played. The anti-tank gun, however, the Pak-40 is in a bad position. It's going to be stolen by the Allies unless this machine gun can really do a miracle play. In fact, it looks like it's going to be able to do that, so that's very good for them. Panzerwerfer? Yeah, Panzerwerfer coming through for Landwehr. Going to be doing a lot of damage. So the situation is still very, very good for the Germans. As you can see, they have a concave essentially set up around the Allies, as you can see, where they have the two flanks pretty much firmly under their control, and the Allies are trying to contest the center. This is allowing the Germans to get some good flanking maneuvers on the Allied troops attacking in the center. Karin has been doing this masterfully with his Panzer IV and his stuff, and another KT is on the field for him, so looks like he's gone for just a brute force approach. No elegance required, no command Panthers, no Jagdpanzers, no Jagdtigers, just a brute force of big heavies on all three players. Tiger, King Tiger, King Tiger. Hopefully, if these three vehicles can work together correctly, they're going to be able to do, a massive amount of damage to the Allied troops. At this point, yeah, Pak-40 for Liang is, oh damn, he was able to steal it, but, forced away by the King Tiger. If the three Tigers, the three big cats, work together, get into one ball, and push up into one area, they're going to be unstoppable, basically. Because, yeah, the majority of Allied AT right now, I mean, there's a couple of Piats, attempt at stealing the pack. They might be able to tow it back to base on foot, maybe. AT gun for Puska, and for Nyang, we don't have anything. So it's very, very, very inadequate when it comes to the AT for the allies. And if the 3 big heavy tanks can come together as one unit and just strike, then they're going to have a very, very easy time just slicing through the allied anti-tank defenses like a hot knife through butter. And yeah, there goes a nice Panzerwerfer, also going to help with that in dealing with the basically far few AT guns that the allies have. And right now, the only real cause for worry right now would be the Jackson. But the Jackson itself, one Jackson can't really deal with 3 big German heavies, especially if one of them is a Tiger. The King Tigers are not fast enough to chase down the Jackson, whereas the Tiger is really starting to get dangerous because of its sort of superior speed. And right now, Miho Nishizumi is going with a very, very awesome purchase. It is the infrared half-track, which is going to allow the Axis to have essentially early intel on where allied AT defenses are. And the constant flanking from both Carrion and Landwehr is really taking its toll on the allies. There goes another MG. The Jackson is taking some pot shots at the KT, but with 3 big heavies on the field, I don't see how the allies are going to be coming back into this and, well, delivering some good blows against the allies because, against the Axis, because, I mean, they need to try at least kill one of these big heavies, but even if they do that, it's like Miho can go with another KT and replace his own if it dies. And even then, how are they going to accomplish this? Like, they don't have any mobile forces. They have a Crocodile. They have some AT guns. Some. They're inferior when it comes to infantry, and they're inferior when it comes to medium armor. So really, the heavy tanks are very, very safe as long as they keep near their medium tanks and near their infantry support. They're going to be in a essentially invulnerable bubble of defenses. There's not going to be any way the allies can flank them or deal a decisive blow to them. I mean, the big heavy tanks might come into a battle, take a few pot shots from the Jackson and the anti-tank guns, and then decide that, hey, maybe I'm just going to retreat, repair, and then come from another side. And the allies are not going to be really able to capitalize on this because there's just way too much Germany on the field right now. And especially, there's way too little allies. The allies right now are in a very bad position, and it's showing in the VP game as well. As you can see, almost a triple cap for the Germans. Königstiger in the center for Carrion, doing quite well as well, just completely plowing through the allied infantry I was trying to capture there. Crocodile tries to come through and do something in the north. Gets a nice spot for the Su-85, and one of the KTs takes a lot of damage, but it's just not enough. I mean, if the forces from Carrion are able to deal with this allied push in the center, which they should be able to, then they're going to be able to come up from the rear. So I just don't see how the allies are going to come back and maybe win this game. I don't know. Sherman Firefly is a step in the right direction, however. They need some kind of heavy AT. Especially considering that Rayon has 200 munitions at his disposal, so he could want to go with, you know, some tulip rockets. Looks like Nyang and Puska don't really have a lot of manpower. Nyang is just continuously building these Pinos, which might not be the best idea because the Pinos are just gonna not have the stopping power to deal with the German tanks. They're gonna be bleeding a lot of manpower because they're pretty expensive as well. Although, of course, the reason why Nyang is going for those Pinos is because he wants something to deal with these Volksgrenadiers, but the Volksgrenadiers, there's just too many of them. And as you can see, nice flank coming through, destroying the engine of the Crocodile. And right now, also, the Sherman Firefly is in trouble. An attempt at a Panzerfaust is going to be forced away only by the Flamer of that Crocodile. So, yeah, I don't see the Allies coming back from this. The Germans have a very, very nice stranglehold on the north and center because of Landwehr and Miho collaborating so closely. And Carrion is still holding that southern point and then providing some good support both for the center and flanks from the south. So this is very, very, very good play indeed from the Germans. Not that the Allies aren't playing well, it's just that right now they're mostly they've played into the Germans' hand by not going with a lot of early to mid-game vehicles, by not trying to utilize their T-70 and Stuart to their maximum potential, by not trying to go with any Shermans either, or any Cromwells for that matter from Rayon. They've basically let the Germans sit back with their, of course, early game advantage that they had managed to secure. They've sat back, kind of, you know, skirmished back and forth with the Allies, just surviving for a while, and then at this point they have just massive superiority. So I just don't see how the Allies are just gonna be able to reverse this trend, considering that, I mean, they've been trying to do the same thing for the last like 10 minutes with their you know, tank destroyers, and it's not really working. Finally, some successes because of the Sherman Firefly are appearing, but again, the Allied forces are very static, so they don't really have any ways of following up on good, you know, bouts of damage that they make with the German Panzers. If they come into an engagement and they trade well, they're not going to really be able to capitalize on it and get the killing blow, because of the lack of medium tanks, because of the lack of, well, yeah, mostly just medium tanks, and also the lack of infantry in some way. So this is kind of forcing them into the defensive. Because of that, the Panzerwerfers are doing really, really well, and because of that, of course, the heavy tanks for the Germans are able to just kind of do what they do best. The Panzer IV itself is also doing very well for carrion, because it's just able to come in, poke around the corner, take some pot shots at the riflemen, and then get away. At this point, also, the Allied rear lines are in trouble, and they're taking damage from these Volksgrenadiers. Almost able to destroy, no, in fact, able to destroy the fuel cache over here. So overall, also, the resource income for the Allies is finally being threatened again after a while in which, you know, the Allied fuel was basically allied. Although, I mean, now that the Germans are starting to harass back into it, I'm not even sure they particularly need to do it, considering the amount of great superiority that they already have on the field. And at this point, it is really the Germans' game to lose. If they make a big mistake, then they're not going to have an easy time. And right now, KT and Jagdpanzer IV are going to be coming across in the center. Along with the Panzer IV support, they're going to be able to easily destroy this Priest. This is definitely an anti-Jackson force, as you can see. Because of the Jagdpanzer IV, they're going to be able to deal with Jacksons at long range as well as at close and medium range with the Panzer IV and KT. The Panzer IV, however, is in trouble, takes a lot of damage from bazookas and the Jackson. However, at the expense of the last remaining riflemen, so this is not very good because those riflemen were pretty important. However, it seems like in the north we have another engagement where the Germans are, well, doing pretty well. They're taking some good pot shots with airstrikes and artillery at the Allies. Right now, it seems like the Crocodile is going to be, well, engaged by the Stug, whereas the Allied tank destroyers finally turn around and deal a massive blow to the Stug. Yeah, it just seems like while the Germans don't particularly win this engagement, they also don't lose it. Nice Stuka barrage on the ambulance from Carrion. Actually, no, that was not Carrion. That was probably Miho. Yeah, well, they don't particularly win the engagement. They also don't lose it. And the Allies are down to 200 VPs. Their Puska is basically out of units. Elnyang is close to being out of units. And Rayon is the only one with anything left in the form of these two Fireflies and the Croc. And he does not have enough engineers to repair them in any kind of quick fashion. Whereas the Germans have very, very complete armies all throughout. They've got infantry, they've got support weapons, they've got armor. Whereas the Allies, as you can see, we have engineers, and penals. So really no versatile infantry force all over for the Allies. Also, the Germans have a superiority when it comes to artillery, so I'm guessing that this is just going to be the end. What could the Allies have done differently? Again, really, I feel like that after that mid-game, where the Allies weren't able to use their light vehicles to good effect, they weren't able to get some good flanks off on the German, German main positions, which were behind this VP, and of course south. And because of their failure to at least have one player go for medium tanks, I feel like they never had a chance. I mean, maybe they could have amassed enough tank destroyers to win. Maybe. Maybe. So either that or amassing tank destroyers. Those were the only two ways in which the Allies could have won this. It was just very well played by the Germans. They strangled the Allies into a position where they couldn't do anything. Because of their very good early game and because of the Allies' sort of passive mid-game, the Germans had a chance to get the big heavy tanks. And in the meantime, they just played really well, just preventing the Allies from utilizing any of the advantages that they did have. They got very, very, very creative with their AT gun positionings, and they managed to destroy the T-70s, etc. So that was pretty good. And yeah, at that point, it was just basically over. So basically, that's about it. I'm thinking from that bar that the game is about to be over. So I want to thank y'all for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. I will see you soon. As always, if you want your replay to be featured on the channel, the link to the email will be in the description. If you have enjoyed it, drop down a like. And yeah, I'll see you soon. I'll just very quickly camera over the last moments of the game. Yeah, I'll see you soon. That was a very nice Tulip rocket barrage, by the way. Flare of Destiny. There goes the... Was that a ambulance? Yes, that was. And there we are, the GG.